What is up? We are back in business. The Convo for Oakridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. I'm Norm James in London, along with my podcast partner in crime, the one, the only, Michael Piagello in Cheektowaga, New York. Mike, we're about a month away from puck drop on this COVID-affected NHL season. I'll take it.
Yeah, good evening, Norm. Let's just say I'm knocking on wood. There's been some skepticism regarding the potential January 13th start date, but it seems even if it's pushed back a week or so, we're going to get the NHL back in mid-January, which for me, having actual games and training camp and news to write about instead of listing the top 40 prospects is much more much more interesting to do.
Yeah, never mind evergreen content. We want to get hyped up. We want to do pregame. Then we want to talk about the games between now and when we anticipate this thing will start up. What is the plan for the Maple Leafs?
Well, it seems right now that most of the team is in Toronto. I know a number of players are practicing at the Ford Performance Center. I know that Austin Matthews is still in Arizona. And with any player that's not in Toronto, they're going to have to quarantine for 14 days.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that Matthews is probably going to travel to Toronto in the next week or so to make sure he gets that 14-day quarantine out of the way before training camp starts. And the indications are right now that training camp would start for the Leafs probably around New Year's.
In Norman Oakridge Ford, along with Mike in Buffalo, the 2021 F-150s are on the ground at Oakridge Ford. They're being gobbled up pretty fast. Message me on Twitter or get at me in community if you want to come see one. If you're local, they are unbelievable. The number one selling vehicle in North America, hands down. And that honor will not be gone anytime soon because the F-150 2021 styles is on another level. Michael, I'm really excited to see players like Wayne Simmons don the Maple Leaf, Joe Thornton. The list goes on of the veteran contingent that was brought in to empower the core group. Is there any particular player that has not yet played for the Maple Leafs that you are excited to see make their debut?
I've seen Zach Bogosian, I've seen Simmons, I've seen Joe Thornton play. It'll be very cool to see them in the blue and white. I'm more intrigued by the players that we haven't seen in North America and how they will impact the team. I think the guy who potentially could be a difference maker is Mikko Lehtinen, who won the KHL version of the Norris Trophy last year and scored a point per game for Oakridge to start the season in the KHL. So, I mean, we don't know whether he's somebody who doesn't translate to the NHL like Igor Ozaganov did a couple years ago and who came from the KHL, or whether he translates like a Nikita Zaitsev. I mean, Nikita Zaitsev, in spite of the criticism that he received in Toronto over the years, he has to be considered a success story because he was an undrafted free agent that came from the KHL and is a legitimate NHL defenseman. And we have to see what Lehtinen is. He's 26 years old. It's not something where, he should, have issues in terms of like a rookie in terms of adjusting to the NHL. He should be able to get off to a reasonable start if he is ready for it. But the thing is, with KHL players, with players that come from Europe, sometimes there's an adjustment period, and there is depth on the Leafs blue line. So we'll have to see what Lehtinen can give this team.
Yeah, Sheldon Keefe is going to have his work cut out for him. He's got a lot of talent at his disposal. I suppose the team we see at the beginning of this newly configured season won't exactly be the team or, the way it's structured as the season progresses and certainly into the playoffs.
Well, it was interesting. Chris Johnston wrote a really good piece for Sportsnet regarding Rasmus Sandin. And, they added TJ Brody. They added Zach Bogosian as veterans. Lehtinen is an unknown commodity. And those players are replacing CC and Barry, who left via free agency. But, everybody's sort of overlooking Rasmus Sandin, who came up at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year and played 20 some odd games. And, as a 19-year-old, I think impressed, but I think, most people thought that with the additions that the Leafs made on the blue line that, maybe he would play for the Marlies again. Well, he has apparently devoted himself to, getting stronger, which was a problem for him getting pushed off the up puck by bigger
Mm-hmm.
forwards. And, supposedly he is much stronger and trying to challenge for a job. And it's like Sheldon Keefe is going to have to sort of wade through that depth on the blue line, which is a nice problem to have. But, Dermott, Lettinen, Bogosian, all these guys are going to be fighting for ice time. And, that's good competition. And, I'm sure that the Leafs will benefit from that competition.
OG's converts, there's plenty of content for you to sink your teeth into on the YouTube channel. There's Soup and Trav, Last Shot, When and Where, Something's Up, Cautious Optimism, Center of the Universe. Click on those videos, and while you're here, hit the like button and smash the subscribe button. We need subscribers badly. I also want to know, and I'll put up a question in community, who of the new acquisitions are you most excited to see don the blue and the white? Nick Robertson, Mike, will not be playing at the World Junior Hockey Championship in Edmonton and Red Deer coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Why is that?
Well, he was selected as a member of the roster, the preliminary roster before the U.S. cut down. But apparently, Kyle Dubas let Team USA know that his availability would be tied to when the beginning of the NHL season would occur. And we've heard January 13th as the prospective day that the season will begin. The World Junior starts on Christmas Day, ends January 5th, and training camp, as I said before, starts New Year's Day and lasts till is probably about 10 or 11 days. So, and apparently there is a 7-day quarantine, even though Robertson would be staying in Canada, flying from Edmonton to Toronto. That would be, that would basically have him miss the entire training camp. And the aim of Robertson and the Leafs is for him to make the 23-man roster and to play.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically told Team USA he's not going to be available. If the training camp had been pushed forward and the start of the season had been, say, February 1st, then I think they would have made him available. But they apparently let Team USA know in advance that he might not be.
Dubas must feel like Nick Robertson's not going to gain that much more at a tournament like that compared to what he's already learned in junior and with the U.S. development program and his short time in the NHL.
Well, he scored 5 points in 5 games last year for Team USA. He had a really good performance. And then, as everybody who follows the OHL knows, he led the OHL in goal scoring with 55 goals. So, and then, the Leafs thought his progress, was there to play him in 4 of the 5 playoff games. So, they obviously hold him in high regard, and, his work ethic is something that they're really, really proud of. So I think that they think that he has a good chance of making the team. I'm just a little questioning because you've got, you've added Jimmy Vesey, you've added Mikheyev, signed him to the extension, and I think he projects better as a left winger than a right winger. I'm not sure where he slots. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to play him on the 3rd or 4th line, but with Joe Thornton and Jason Spezza on the 4th line, maybe a guy like Robertson fits there and could score some meaningful goals in a sort of depth role.
Mm-hmm. This is the Leafs Convo. Blues guy in community. Leafs finished first in the Canadian League, no doubt, and Freddie Anderson is going to lead the way. I like the optimism, even though he's a Blues fan. Maybe Maple Leafs fans can drink what he is and get on board what the Leafs are trying to do.
Yeah, I really think the Canadian division is going to be tough. And, the scheduling, I mean, right now every indication is it's going to be 56 games. And in the other divisions, the 8-team divisions, the U.S. divisions, it's playing the 7 teams inside your division 8 times, 4 home, 4 away. In the Canadian division, since it's only 7 teams, you're going to be playing 2 teams 10 times and the other ones 9 times. So that means, probably playing Montreal and Ottawa 10 times and then playing Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Winnipeg
Mm-hmm.
9 times. That's, really, it's like, it's going to be like going back to the old
Yeah,
Adams division days where they play these teams so much they're going to hate
sure.
each other and they're going to be playing them multiple times, like in a row. It's going to probably be 2 or 3 game series like in baseball. So it's really going to be a different type of situation. And as somebody pointed out, for all the games, it'll be very unique that we'll only have one anthem all year.
I'm not a big fan of anthems to begin with. One is better than two. None is better than one, but we're working our way there. This is the Leafs Convo. Norm, along with Mike, just a few minutes left. You have to expect players are going to get hurt. Players are going to suck and need to be moved out of the lineup in favor of others who are a little more hungry and ready to play. The Leafs will have their main squad, and with uncertainty in the lower leagues, the support leagues. How are the Maple Leafs going to structure a team that's there to support the big group and keep them hot and ready?
Right now, I mean, the minor leagues are in chaos. The ECHL, 9 teams have basically said they're opting out, so they're not going to play. And Newfoundland is one of them. So the Leafs are going to have a lot of extra players available for the Marlies. The AHL is not starting until the first week of February. And we don't know how
Mm-hmm.
long the season or whether that's even going to come off, because we know the American Hockey League needs to have fans to really survive unless they're going to get some sort of financial support from the NHL. So, I mean, everything is really in limbo. And right now, the whole question of taxi squads with the NHL, based on the fact that we've seen in the NFL, we've seen in Major League Baseball that you'll have a positive in terms of a player. It'll happen right before the game, like happened with Des Bryant with the Baltimore Ravens that last week, and they pull the guy out of the game right before the game, and you have to have somebody available. And if it's the Leafs are in Calgary, and so all of a sudden somebody tests positive, they're going to have players available. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what the rules are going to be in terms of salary cap implications. And I heard some things that, well, teams that are up against the cap are not going to have the luxury of a taxi squad. Well, okay, they're going to have to, because what, a team is going to be screwed because they're up against the cap and somebody gets test
Mm-hmm.
positive and you're going to go with 17 players instead of 20. I don't think that's going to work. So we're going to have to see what the NHL does in terms of announcing the different parameters for these taxi squads when they announce their
Mm-hmm.
agreement and whatever is going forward this week.
Well, we know if the Leafs get too hot, whomever they're playing can call up David Ayers, and that will just throw cold water on whatever the Leafs are trying to accomplish. Michael, before I let you go, what are you working on? We know we can find it at hockeybuzz.com. Why is now a good time for people to re-engage with your columns, your content, as we count down towards this historic NHL season to come?
Well, I was joking earlier about ranking the top prospects in the organization, but I've been doing that off and on the last couple weeks. And when we get closer and there's training camp to talk about, what line combinations and defensive pairings and all that stuff that is of interest. Right now it is interesting to talk about the voluminous amounts of prospects that the Leafs have, and I'm currently writing one for tonight, so I'll have that out, and follow those particular columns on
Yeah, Mike, thanks
hockeybuzz.com.
for all you do. At Mike in Buffalo on Twitter, at I am Norman James, at the Leafs Convo 2. The question in community right now, I want your participation right away. Of all the Leafs new acquisitions, who are you most excited to see wear the blue and white, like the content, hit the subscribe button. Mike and I are revving up the same way you are, the same way all of these NHL teams are in this new COVID world. We're in it together. We're going to get through it. For Mike, I'm NJ. We're out.